Hello, humans! Today I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I just wanted to talk about a few different parts of my EDC that are specifically sort of accessibility features. So these are things that I carry on my person every day, not necessarily just as like, yay, fun or pure utility, but things that just make my day a little bit better and a little bit easier on myself. So these are kind of broad, and I'm going to explain through each one as I go, but the first thing I want to tackle is some of the reasons I want accessibility features. Accessibility features feels a very wrong way to describe it, but just things to make my life easier. So the first one is I have sound hypersensitivity, which isn't a huge deal in the day-to-day, but what it does mean is I process sounds very actively and very disparately. So if I'm in a crowd of people and everybody's having a conversation, my brain separates each individual conversation, which means I get overstimulated very, very easily, which can lead to headaches, migraines, whole nine yards. Very unpleasant situation. And I don't like it, obviously. Now, one of the things you can do for like loud environments where there's lots of noises is very, very simple, right? Earplugs. I have a pair of loop earplugs. They work great. Here's the issue with that. I have tinnitus. And the ringing in my one frickin' ear is just enough to where I will get the headache from just the ringing in the ear. So, whilst I do wear earplugs at work and there's enough outside sound, and in some environments, right, like if I'm going to a concert or if I'm going to a crowd of people, I'll wear my loops because there's enough outside sound getting through that the earplugs are just killing everything that's not immediately around me, right? Which is a low enough volume of noises where, like a low enough number of noises, I should say, to where I can actually separate them out all in my brain, follow all the different conversations happening around me. Like, it works for me in those situations. Whereas if I'm just going to town or maybe even going to like a library or a quieter environment, it actually leads to a problem to where I can't do that. That doesn't work for me, right? Because the earplugs in, there's no other sounds. I just get the feedback ringing in the one ear, and it'll eventually wear me down into a headache, which is not ideal. So, obvious answer, right? Something along the lines of headphones, earbuds, or even full-blown over-ears, right? These are things that you can wear in a library with no problem. But they don't do so well if I'm going through a mall or if I'm in an environment where I need to be somewhat aware but not entirely. And that's shopping. So, what I recommend is actually something like these. These are headphones, wireless. However, they're not in-ears. So a lot of in-ear headphones nowadays have like a pass-through mode. I hate the pass-through mode. It creates this tonal sound everything that wears on my last nerve. And the alternative of that is active noise canceling, which for a lot of the sounds that I experience on a day-to-day basis makes them worse. Because a lot of the sounds I experience on a day-to-day basis are very fast, sharp sounds, and I have found that active noise canceling just cannot keep up with those, so it tries to play, what it does, it tries to play the opposite tone in order to cancel out the sound, and it plays it a little bit too late, so it sounds like, and I don't like it. Or it creates a humming, which I also don't like. Now, these right here, they go over your ear, they play the music slightly in front of your ear, but your ear is still open, and that's critical for me, right? My ear is still open. These ones here, I don't know how much they were. They were a gift for Christmas, but they were, I think, like under $50, $50-ish, somewhere in there. They're a little awkward to carry because they're a ball, but they have a touch sensor on the back. They Bluetooth connect seamlessly, USB-C charging, and they do exactly what I want, which is play music in my ear so that it's not just the ringing going on in that one side especially, but leave me open enough that I can hear what's happening in the environment or even have a conversation. These are the Shox Open Fit 2s, very, very similar. They go over the ear, they play the music directly in front of your ear. I really like these for two reasons. One, they have an impressive amount of battery life to them. Like without the charging case, I think each earbud has something like 8 hours, which for me is really, really appreciated. And the second thing that I love about them is they have a physical button up top. And I like physical buttons a lot more. I have long hair. I don't wear that long hair in a bow or anything like that. And there are times when something like this, or even my Hispana Los Angeles, they have buttons or sensors on the side, and they will actually react to my hair sometimes if it's a humid day or whatever, which is annoying. So these right here with their physical buttons, I really appreciate them. I've had them, not quite a year yet. But I've had them for a decent amount of time. I really like them. They work really well. Alternatively, these, I'm not entirely sure who makes them. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure who makes them, but they're pretty good too. The only real reason why I wanted to upgrade off these is they don't have the battery life that I like, whereas these do. So, really, really good for people with noise sensitivity and tinnitus. I imagine that's a very niche environment to be in, but hey, you know, they work. Even if your brain just doesn't like an absolute zero sound, something like this still gives you a lot of awareness of the outside without necessarily relying on electronic systems, which I really appreciate. And it just works stupidly, stupidly well for me personally. So, yeah, makes my life a little bit easier, less headaches going out and about. Very, very valuable to me. Throw them over there. The next thing is ball cap, cowboy hat, something like that. So I wear glasses. And that's not necessarily the end of the world, but I'm not somebody who's going to carry like an extra pair of glasses all the time, switch in and out between them. In the wintertime, sure, when I have a jacket that I can just leave them in, but a shaded pair of prescription glasses on my person at all times is a lot to commit to. And it's just kind of annoying to have to switch out my glasses all the time, so it's not something that I necessarily want to do. The other option is the photochromic glasses, which react with sunlight, get darker. That is a viable option, and I know a lot of people like that. It works. It's not to my taste, personally. I find it very annoying. They take too long to get dark in the first place, and then they take too long to get undark, so I find them a bit of a pain for me personally. That's not going to be true of everybody, but for me, it's a lot. So what I like instead is ball caps, or if you've seen my last video or any of the other videos where I've been actually on camera, I wear a cowboy hat all the time, and the main reason for that is I can just put the brim over the sun, not have to worry about it. It cuts down the amount of sunlight that I get, which is super valuable, especially on days where I live in BC. BC is beautiful. The sky gets bright. It's not just the sun, it is like emanating from everywhere. Which, again, headache-inducing, right? Like, that amount of light I just find very headache-inducing. So, what I do, I wear a ball cap or I wear a cowboy hat, I drop it down over my eye line, I don't get any of that sun, which is super, super valuable to me. I don't need to switch out glasses all the time, which is super, super valuable to me. And then on top of that, you know, if there's rain or snow or anything else like that going on, same deal, right? The brim of this or the brim of my cowboy hat keeps the rain off of my glasses, keeps the snow off of my face. So, genuinely, it's not necessarily something everybody thinks of as like an essential part of the EDC, but every single day I have a hat on me because it is that valuable to me to have. Super, super useful. The third one is for me and also for people in my life. I carry Werther's Originals, or I carry something like this. So these are Coffee Delights, really good. But they take up a lot of space. So, Werther's Originals, or similar individually wrapped hard candies. Now, I am self-aware enough to recognize that when my blood sugar gets low, when I haven't had something to eat in a long time, I can get very snappy and aggressive. And that is true of many members of my family, and that is true of many of my friends. So I started carrying Werther's Originals, or, you know, just individually wrapped hard candies, because just when I find myself snapping at people I don't usually snap at, or getting upset at things I don't normally get upset at, I have the candy on my person, I can pop one in, I can do like the little ritual of calming the fuck down, sucking on the candy, and then ups my blood sugar, I start to feel better, my day starts to get better. Really, really valuable. If you have a condition like POTS or something similar to, you can get salted hard candies and carry those. Anything with sodium or potassium, if you have, like, I mentioned POTS specifically because I'm aware of how it works a little bit, but anything that has like a component to it with potassium and sodium is going to help get your heart rate under control, help get all that stuff under control, so it can also be very valuable. These, I don't think have very much salt in them. Oh, not really. 60 milligrams of sodium, which is not a lot. 10 milligrams of potassium, which again, not a lot. What about the Coffee Delights? I feel like these are saltier. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, so 40 milligrams of sodium per individual. And doesn't mention potassium at all. Okay, yeah, that works. So these aren't really, but you can get salted ones. Highly recommend, really, really nice. Same deal, right? Like if you're interacting with children through work or whatever, and they're running around, or they seem to need a little bit of energy boost. Hard candies, valuable, good way of bonding. Yeah, I mean, it's three things. They're not something I'm going to say everybody needs as part of their EDC, but they are very valuable for me to have in my EDC, and they are something that I think are worth considering, right? Carry everything you carry with intentionality. Those are three things that, while it's not essential for everybody, I find very, very valuable. Stay safe and have fun out there. Peace.